All right, so ladies and gentlemen, you guys can come up here and have a seat. Well, you guys can watch. We're going to ask you. So as we spoke yesterday, we need to go through and debrief everything, and we want to know specifics. So the way this works is we're going to ask 3 questions of each of you, and we'll go around the room, and each person has to answer what was good about yesterday's trip, what was bad about yesterday's trip, and what could we do better. And I'm asking specifically to your group. So I don't want you to speak on behalf of the entire group, just your specific, your what pertains to yourself. What we don't want to hear is someone repeat what someone else said. So you can't say, well, Zach fell in the water. And then somebody else go, yeah, that was bad. Zach fell in the water, it was bad. You can't repeat it. You have to come up with something new. So that being said, you got a bunch of them? Oh, for me?
Well, not for you.
All right, that's okay, so this is the way we're going to start it. We will start with Aiden. We'll go around the room counterclockwise there. So tell us what about yesterday was good.
One of the good parts about yesterday was before we left the building, we went through our one of our procedures, and we checked that we had everything, but also we checked that we had anything extra that we needed. We also included a screwdriver in case there was some possible failure, and kind of like little things to help us on the field, along with the things that we needed for the operation.
Only give us one.
Well, a bad thing was that we weren't at the pool. We weren't as organized with our objects and materials as we should have been. Some of the lids and objects were far away from us, and we had to kind of like cross each other. And I think we should get more organization to them, and that's also what I think we can do better, is get better organization on the field. Okay?
What was good? We didn't forget anything. We had all the tools we needed to work on the stuff there. What was bad is stuff can't pass the vacuum test. And what we could do better is solve that issue so that we can just put stuff in the water next time. Fix the sub so that it can actually pass the vacuum test, and that we can actually get it in the water next time.
Okay. I said what was good is we actually got our sub in the water, which was kind of cool because I hadn't seen that before yet. Because we did the one test out there. But we didn't, I don't think we put in the water. I think we just go with the vacuum test. And then, so I thought that was cool. I got to put it in for the first time because we were in the laboratory. I didn't get to do that either. But what was bad is I think we need more practice on each job because since it was my first time putting it in the water, I didn't really know what to do. Well, I mean, I obviously just kind of put it in, but stuff like that, and I haven't done much of the reading the checklist and stuff. So, and what we could do better is during the checklist, we could read through it faster so that we can get to actually testing it. That's cool.
What was good?
Alright, so what was good is our sub actually functioned, the only one that actually functioned. And what was bad is the tether seemed kind of short because when we got to the edge of the pool at the very end, and we were trying to turn it to the side, the weight from the tether just kept twisting it back, and so it was really hard to drive. And what we could do better is when we hit a certain point where the tether box fell off of our where we plugged the tether into, the box fell and pulled the USB not out, but it was it could have come plugged to a thing worse. So we need to secure that.
Okay.
procedure. It went very quickly and smoothly. What went bad is we had to keep, because of the tether problem, we had to keep moving our station up and down. And what we could have done better is like figured out where we should have set our push station in the beginning, so we didn't have to keep moving it while the sub was in the water.
Can you clarify that? What do you mean by moving it up?
So we had the computer and all the electronic stuff on the tub that we put the sub in, and we had to keep scooting it forward towards the pool so that the extent of the tether would be extended.
What could you do better?
Just set it up, originally set it up so that we wouldn't have to move the box or the tub closer to the part of the pool while the sub's in the water.
Alright, Riley?
Alright, so I think one thing that was good was that all of us at my team got used to the controls of the robot very quickly. One thing that was bad, the part of the 3D printed battery holder fell off when I was pulling it out. And then one thing that we could do better, I think, is document our tests for the robot. For example, like put in the exact time that we put the robot in the water and the exact time we take it out, and various stuff like that.
George, we'll skip you and come back. Tristan?
What was good was setting everything up from the time we got there to the time we ended, kind of like time management, I guess. What was bad was every time it would seem like, I would tighten everything, I would go back and not everything would be tight. So I could retighten. And then what we could do better with it is figure out where the leaks are and stuff for the air.
What was good, I don't think there was anything else good besides bringing all the tools we needed and setting everything up in an orderly fashion. What was bad, the vacuum tests kept failing, and we don't know why. What we can do better, go through with Tristan's plan with using air pump in the tube to find where the leaks are.
So other than finding leaks, is there anything else you guys can work on?
Cross-training.
Cross-training, that's good.
And learning controls. We don't even know how to use it.
Okay. Alex?
Something good that happened, we learned what the different controls did. So we know what buttons move the robot which way. Something bad is when we had the robot underwater, it hit something, and then the program on the computer froze. So we had to bring it back up, redo the whole list, and essentially restart. Something we could do better, I think just testing the program on the computer more to figure out or to eliminate variables. Program crashed while we were in the water.
Something good that happened when we got there. We got down and got started immediately. We got the sub in the water in a timely manner. Something bad that happened when we put it in, and we did a few functions, moving it around and everything, but the program on the computer, something made the USB from
Is that what he just said?
I think this is a different thing.
Okay.
When we did a couple functions, the USB from the Xbox controller
lost connectivity to the, to,
Control. Yes. And then
what could you do better?
better. Oh, not a bad thing that happened was we held
Well,
the second.
just one,
Okay.
what could you do better?
We need to twist the end caps of the tubes to create a more tight seal.
Remember the other thought. Is it just running? Good, you guys slide up here real quick. Georgia?
So, what was, actually, I'll start with what was bad. We had problems with our controller and our computer, and eventually the canisters stopped holding a seal, but luckily it wasn't in the water. So, we did get it in the water for a little bit, but like one of my members said, the controller stopped being connected for some reason. That's why we think there is a computer problem. So, we have to fix that. So then what was good is we did get all of our testing done, even though it wasn't in the water. Everybody did get a chance to drive it. We just kind of pretended like it was in the water, and I feel that we did do a great job of making the best out of issues that we ran into. What we can do better is we could organize our space, use the box to protect our computer from the water jumping off the ceiling. But overall, I felt like we did a great job with what we were faced with.
Jason?
Good. I liked that when I had something to say to the teams, like I went around to each individual teams, and I walked you guys kind of through the checklist. I did like that y'all kind of, not necessarily stopped what you were doing, but y'all listened to me and y'all brought out the notebooks and started writing down. That was good. Bad also has to do with the notebooks. Nick, I'm not picking on you, I'm just picking on everybody. When you said your good thing, what did you say? You said you got it in the water in about like a minute?
In a timely fashion.
Okay, so like one thing that I would say is kind of like, I can't remember which one you said, but when you're documenting your tests and stuff like that, you need to say, what time did we leave the school? What time did we get to the pool? What time did we get the sub in the water? What time did we pull it out of the water? And so forth. What time did we get back to school? Every step of that needs to be documented.
Should include directions, where we went there, how we get back, so your experiments can be recreated. It's just a good practice.
So yeah, and it basically gives you, for the next time we run the tests, now that we know how much time it's going to take us to say get there and get the sub in the water, we can kind of do our tests off of that data that you collected. So that's something that I didn't think was very good because I didn't see one person write down that we even got to the pool or like, I mean maybe they did or anything. What could be better is I think when you guys are here and you guys are preparing, I think you need to take dry runs more seriously. Because I was just kind of like watching around. I was watching people just go through the motions, and people are sitting out there like, oh, confirmed. It's like it needs to be a serious step of processes, and that comes with doing the dry runs and the auditorium and stuff like that. So I think what could be better is you guys could start taking that more seriously, because obviously that process matters considering the fact that these are very expensive machines and that they need to be taken care of.
Max?
It's good. No one fell in. Thank you.
Nice.
None of you had to walk the fourth block with wet pants. Thank you. What was bad? Just picky thing. Several of you eating at the pool. That pool is disgusting. Do you really want to eat food while you're there? You should be doing that on the bus.
Hey man, don't. My pocket pretzels.
We didn't think we were going to get back in time, so we ate there.
We usually do make it back in time, just so you know. And sometimes it does turn into what we're running down on the bus. On the way over or on the way back. But usually we get back with
the sub, you could at least write something down about what they're doing with the sub, or what's going on around the field.
Okay, so yeah. Okay, so what was good? So, as a quick little background, the first time we tried to do a pool test, the pool wasn't open, it was locked up, and we had a bus over there sitting with kids, and so that was a problem. So this time, because of the construction they've done over there, they've locked it up again, and was able to get in really easily this time, so it all worked out. So that was good. Access to the pool was good. What was bad? So, from my standpoint, what was bad? I'm not picking on teams right now. I'll just talk about from the administrative point of view. What was bad is that and I'm not trying to pick on teams, but as a class, everybody should have gotten in the water. We should have done. Everybody should have had an opportunity to drive in the water and to start practicing, because everything gets, we start one step gets to the next step to the next step. We're constantly building on what we want to do. So we want to make sure we're shooting to go to Lake Phoenix on the 22nd of May. And we only plan these 2 pool tests. I'm going to contact them to do maybe 2 more if we can. So we've got a lot of work to get done in there. So what can we do better about that sort of thing? Practice. What we could do better in that practicing realm would be kind of like what Zach was alluding to a little bit ago, where he said, I didn't practice this when we went to the thing. He actually realized at this point, he realized, oh man, I've got to lay down on the ground to get this down in the water correctly. So that's a different way we can try to do things. So when you're practicing, think of the worst case scenario, take the time to think things through. Worst case scenarios, what can we do to prepare for it? And then we'll work our way through that. All right. Now, that being said, everybody's had a chance to say something that was good, that was bad, and what we could do better. Nick had something else he wanted to add. Now's the time we'll do that. If you have anything else, we want to go back. And hey, nobody thought of this. This is what I thought of. We go back and add that now. So, what did you want to add?
So I was just going to say, Jordan touched on it a little bit. The second time we tried putting our sub in the pool, it didn't have a seal on. And I was trying to figure out why last night. And Alex and I were talking about it this morning because we were in the same math class. And we realized that, we didn't twist the end caps. Because we figured out yesterday, I guess the day before yesterday, that if you give a quarter turn to each of the end caps, it seals it, preventing the O-rings in the inside from ripping or losing a little piece of contact on the outside of the tube. So if you twist it, it seals properly. Just something I should.
Okay. So that's interesting because that's a procedural thing. And I don't know, maybe the rest of you might want to test that out. So that's a neat idea. Anybody else want to add anything else that they thought the second thing that was good, bad, or could do better? Most of what we should do now is the next 15, 20 minutes. What we'll do is I'm going to go through it again real quick, kind of see if there's anything I wanted to touch on, and then we should separate you guys with your subs, and you should debrief amongst yourselves again at this point. It doesn't need to be long, don't need to rehash this stuff, but everybody wrote stuff down, which was great, so you should look back and go, hey, how do we handle this? And you create an action item list of things you want to do and that you need to get done, because we are going back next week, so you don't have a lot of time to spend to figure things out. I'm going to spend specific time trying to figure out the leaking issue on that other one. All right, so I'll help them a lot. Checklist was good, on-site organization was good. Speaking of the checklist was another interesting thing too, because once the battery is in in the sub, it only has a limited amount of time. The battery's on because the lights are going. If you can get through the checklist quicker, you can get more time in the water to do stuff. But you have to make sure you're not just checking stuff off.
That means that you don't skip, you don't cut corners.
Don't cut corners. You still have to make sure everything is right before you move on. You can't just say, yeah, we did it, it's done, You still have to check everything. It's okay to go quicker. It's okay to speak quicker. It's okay to move through it quicker. But
Say things more as commands rather than asking a question. Like more say.
well, if you look at the checklist, and you guys should give them the real checklist now. When you look at that, there is a question and there is an answer. And the answer should be that there should be no frivolous talking. If you were to experience what Max experienced and I experienced last summer, when you're going through a checklist, 2 people should be speaking. Somebody's reading the checklist, somebody's answering. And that's it. And it doesn't matter if there's 6 of you answering the questions, no one else should be talking. No one. So you go through the checklist and you say, subs on, check. Whatever the answer is, Next question, the lights are working, check. The computer's working, check. Computer power percentage, 98%. You can just zip right through the stuff as long as you know all the answers, but you don't skip anything. You make sure, literally, the most important thing you can do with that whole thing is make sure that thing's sealed up. If it's not sealed, we're in a whole lot of trouble. It's $2,500 down. All right, the tether box thing was an interesting one. Lonigan brought that up because it just gets yanked out, and that sub has momentum, and it's moving forward, and they are fast. I don't know if you figured it out. They're fast. If you're don't have somebody on the tether and holding the tether and controlling the tether, and that thing it won't just get yanked out of it. It'll keep on driving and drag that computer right into the water. And then we're out. Not only did we lose the sub, we now lost the computer and everything else that was with it. And you want to talk about somebody being pissed, Max is going to be pissed. And his level of pissed isn't even going to be as high as my level of pissed. So, yeah. So let's make sure we're covering everything. That being said, what Max said a minute ago about everybody having a job to do, there should always be somebody on the tether. There should always be somebody driving. So you've got a pilot and a co-pilot. Somebody should be watching over their shoulder at all times to make sure what you're looking at is what you're looking at. When we got down, we went earlier in the year, we took them down to Lake Phoenix. We got the sub inside of, the bus was clean. The airplane, when we got inside the airplane.
No, the helicopter's when we got stuck.
Yeah, I'm talking about when we got inside the airplane, the motors just started turning stuff up. And one person up. The sub turned up all the algae and stuff like that, and you couldn't see. And now we had to figure out, oh my goodness, what's the orientation? Where are we at? How are we doing this? You have communication between the 2 people that are looking at the computer screen going, I think this is what we're looking at. You got somebody on the tether. So that's 3 people communicating directly with one another, what kind of tension's going on, what's happening, to be able to figure those kinds of things out. And they did an excellent job at it. The other person, there should definitely be a 4th person writing stuff down. If you have a 5th person, you should have some kind of video going at all times, or taking pictures. So you're trying to get as much data as you can possibly get. All right. So did you want to add something else to that?
I was just going to say, for example, like when we were at Lake Phoenix, there's a helicopter, and I was driving. Max was on tether, I think, and Georgia was behind me. And we were driving, we go into the helicopter, we turn a little bit, and then the camera just cuts out. The camera freezes. And so we can't see anything, and it's, 20-some odd feet underwater inside a helicopter. So then it took a lot of.
And it's positively buoyant, so it naturally wanted to go up.
No, so when we used it, it was sinking to the floor.
Is that what it was?
And it had a lip, so you tried to pull it out.
So it was the opposite. So
Yeah.
it was trying.
It was stuck.
It was sinking instead of. This is why you want things to be doing.
So it took a lot of Max going, it's stuck, and then Georgia going, it's stuck, and then just slowly but surely we ended up getting it.
Yeah.
We ended up actually getting it out of the helicopter, but it took a lot of communication. So that's just an example.
Georgia brought something up a minute ago about the boxes. The boxes, although they can be used as a table, don't step on the black paper. I mean, heck, if you want to sit on one of these computers, you're fine.
I'm alright.
Okay. Just, you've been in there, you've done that before, so you'll know what you can and can't touch.
Yeah.
I don't know how much room there is. It's kind of... So anyway, yeah. Georgia hit on that about the tubs, right? The tubs, they work great as a small table, but realistically, when we got those things, they are actually there to protect the computer and make it so you've been at that pool before, and a lot of times it's raining in there because stuff's dripping off the ceiling, and we don't need that to touch the computers. You don't want water getting spilled, anything on the computer. So you turn that thing sideways, slide your computer inside of that to protect it.
It does suck if you're kind of on the ground, but you gotta get over.
Yeah, there are other things we can do. Like the first time you guys went down the thing, you took some chairs and stuff like that. You can take chairs with you when you do things, but you're gonna find when you go into the field, like say at Lake Phoenix, there's not room for chairs.
There was no room on that boat to bring a chair.
Yeah, there's no room for a chair. There's no room for a table. There's no room for anything like that. So the bulk of the space, I mean, we could really probably afford the biggest amount of space was the size of that thing. Now I'm speaking to you from experience. Am I wrong?
And like the dock has benches.
Yeah, so you could potentially use something like that there, but
Another thing with the boat is that we were warned about is the buoyancy of the boat matters as well. She said that you could only bring so much weight on that boat
right.
before she wouldn't allow it.
Right. So there's no limited number of people that are even there. So you got to be thinking your way through those kinds of deals and how you're doing things. The other thing, when you're on a boat and you're in the middle of the lake, there are no trees at all to provide shade, and that cover actually gives you a little bit of shade. And it's only a little bit. It was to the point that even this fall when we went down, somehow or another, it was cold. It wasn't freezing, but it was cold enough that I think Casey was driving and he put a blanket over himself. Am I right?
Well, for 2 reasons. I put a blanket over myself because I was cold, but then I put another blanket over top of the thing because the sun was so bright, but it was so cold.
Right.
Like it was a big glare on the screen, so I tucked it in the box and
So
built
you're
this
all
whole like fortress.
yeah. It
Just so I
was
could see-
like
just so I
a little army fort, like
Just so I can see the screen.
on a boat. Yeah, so a lot of kids like I'm all about that. Let me make it 10. Okay, so Michael said something about cross training. That's something every team should be talking about because I established a minimum of 5 jobs. Well, it's actually, that's 5 jobs, minimum of 3 are useful. But somebody should always be writing stuff. So everybody does that. If you want to say, all right, so Zach's writing stuff he's been writing all the notes on his notebook, and all of a sudden Aiden's done. Instead of Aiden taking his stuff and transfer it later, why don't you just grab Zach's notebook, continue on Zach's notebook, and then transfer one time. So you have everything in one spot when you do it until later on. Somebody mentioned something about organizing your space. That's a good idea. You should try to keep everything inside that box. If you can keep it inside the box. That makes it easy. Document. And then the eating at the pool, probably. I was a little sketchy. I don't remember what the rules are. So I'm getting nervous. I know that when you go to the Lake Phoenix, they don't want you to have food there. Their environment's pretty pure. And I say that, but at the same time, they kind of told us to break their own rules a little bit.
Yeah.
But that being said, over the next couple of weeks, we're going to do some other paperwork and that kind of stuff to get that done. All right. At this point, I do think that without your project managers, that you guys should debrief yourself, sit down and go, hey, these are some ideas that we have, and we'll introduce the project managers into your meetings in 15 minutes or something like that and see what you guys are doing. All right? Any questions, concerns, anything else you want to talk about? Okay, good. I'm done. We're done.
I have a question. What is it?
Say goodbye.